Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy-Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Oliva-Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you will hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise.
Is some behavior too despicable to forgive? Are some atrocities completely off the table when it comes to forgiveness? Will you be okay on your deathbed with resentment and damaged relationships? What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Soul Rising.
Hello, guys. We are on episode 12. We are so happy you are here with us today.
We are. Thank you guys so much.
So today what we're going to be talking about is forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I named it To Forgive or Not to Forgive. That is the question.
And boy, is it a good one, because it just seems like there's so much that can rest on that, and it impacts our lives in a lot of ways. But man, we're glad that you are here with us today to share in this topic and all the other topics that we've gotten into up to this point, because we know it can get a little deep sometimes.
It's a little challenging, like last show.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you felt something and you were like, oh yeah, wait, how am I living and how am I consuming and where does my responsibility lie with everything going on in the world? How am I creating the demand for the stuff that I say that I don't like? So thank you so much for coming back and joining us once again. I think the importance of the conversation we're going to have today is this to not forgive piece. Because a lot of people, a lot of shows, a lot of books teach you how to forgive. But we don't talk a lot about the other side of that. Is it possible to move on? Is it possible to heal without forgiving? I saw a podcast recently where somebody was asked if they forgave their perpetrator, and this person suffered crazy abuse, like terrible, terrible abuse. And again, the disclaimer, you know, we're not ever telling you what to do, that you should forgive or you shouldn't forgive or anything like that. You do whatever feels right for you.
Exactly.
We just want to explore both sides, because this person said, you know, why should I forgive someone for something that is unforgivable? Like,
Why should I have to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I'm okay without having to do that. And then I've been seeing more and more of these sort of conversations pop up now that I'm kind of tuned into this question. Like, just got me thinking, like, what do you replace that with, right? Like, if you don't forgive somebody for something, you know, I guess for me, the question is, what do you substitute that with? That, I think, because I'm not saying it's not possible. I think it's possible. I mean, people do.
People
they're
do it
saying
all the
that
time.
they're doing it. I believe them that they're healed and that they can move on without forgiving. I'm just very curious as to how.
Well, I think especially for us too, we have a really unique take on it, because they say that resentments kill way more alcoholics than alcohol does. You know?
That the resentment is the actual killer.
So if you've had any kind of religious upbringing, there's a sense of forgiveness is the only way towards the growth. And like you're talking about, well, you know, is
Maybe
that
it's not
necessarily the case? Yeah.
And this is a big, probably controversial conversation. This is the first time that this is being brought more into my consciousness, things that I'm seeing, you know, posts and videos and stuff like that of people that are starting to say, no, I don't need to forgive somebody for something so terrible. My personal belief and from my own personal experience with my life, I haven't undergone some of those atrocities.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't know how I would feel.
Right.
If, you know, I was sexually abused, physically abused, if I was really, truly abandoned by the ones that I love. And I have some of that in my story. I call mine sexual trauma. And, you know, some people say abuse is abuse is abuse. I respect that. But to me, there are different levels of things, just like grief, right? Like, I wouldn't put myself in the same level of grieving as a mother who lost her child.
Right.
I lost my brother.
They're similar. They are different.
We share We share similar feelings. You know, there are feelings and stuff that go along with being sexually abused or traumatized or losing a child, losing a sibling, losing a parent, right? But then within that similarity, there are differences. I call mine trauma because it wasn't, to me, it wasn't as severe
as some other
experiences
stories that people have had. Yeah.
Ginny and I, we really try to drive that home. And I hope if you've listened to a few of our episodes, you truly understand that we're never telling you what to do.
We have the conversations even as we're trying to find our own healing And as we talk about all things love, loss, and connection, we're trying to understand sides even more so that we don't understand, so that we can also continue to work towards why we're even here to begin with, right? Is to repair and figure out and understand how to like get back to some of that connection, help each other get back to that. And this is a big, big thing, because generally the most common thing you'll hear is like, you're not forgiving them for them, you're forgiving them for you.
You're setting yourself free.
Right.
All that.
Which I believe is all true.
It is true. I mean, it's been my experience.
But is there a way that there is a positive aspect of survival and growth from moving past something so traumatic by not forgiving? Is that a sense of armor? Is that a weapon that someone can pick themselves up with, and be like, okay, I can walk forward from this because it was so traumatic, because I can still hold on to some anger versus some defenseless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, an empowered mindset.
Yes.
This person, I was saying that I saw his podcast video, and it got me thinking, I believe she said, I feel more powerful knowing that like this person did not bring me down. She's a very successful person. Like, look at the life that I've made. Despite what you tried to take away from me, you didn't take it away. And that can be very empowering, can motivate you and can push you forward.
Yeah. At a time, I can't even many times like wrap my head around some of the stories. You hear what people have gone through. It's hard to even, I've had to stop myself from listening at times, I can't even handle it.
Sure.
So to think of someone in it as a child by a family member or whatever the situation may be, that's so destructive down to the core that they might need a really heavy armor to help them even just get out of that fiery place, because that's a lot of heavy duty things to go through. Yeah. And like you're saying, this gal, it probably did, her anger still probably helped propel her out of that place of just shatteredness.
Sure. Definitely. Right? So we're going to try and explore both sides of this coin. I pick stones for each show. And I pulled out this one. It's called Apache Tears.
That's what it's called?
Apache Tears. Yeah.
That's a heavy-hitting name even.
Yes. So indigenous Apaches. It's a grief stone. The reason I pulled out the grief stone is because I was thinking that forgiveness is so tied into grief. It's another loss. You have to be willing to feel the feelings of loss in order to let go of something through forgiveness, right? Because that's ultimately the end goal of forgiveness. You just kind of let go.
Yeah, you're kind of having a surrender.
A surrendering.
It's almost a white flag. Well, just like death, there's an acceptance of this person's not coming back, ever. Like there comes a point we have to be like, okay, I accept it.
And I accept that whatever happened to me, either I lost a part of my inner child when I was young, or a relationship is never going to be the same way or the way that I ever wanted it to be, right? I'm letting go of some kind of wish or an idea. I'm letting go of some kind of fantasy or just something that I have to then accept that it's not the way that I want it to be. That is the most painful part about forgiveness, is coming around to say, don't like that it's this way.
Hated. Also like, okay, so somebody who does this crazy shit to me that just alters my entire life existence shouldn't pay a price? Like only I should pay the price? That's how I think about it. Like a part of that, right? And that's got to be that ego, but also standing up for that inner child or whatever it is that was, harmed, damaged so deeply. Yeah. That place of like,
because even when you're an adult and you get pain some way and somebody hurts you, it's really hurting your inner child. That's really what it all comes down to. The major healing is about healing your inner child.
Yep.
So whenever somebody that I think that they do me wrong or they hurt me in some way, right? Like, so when I heal and when I forgive, it's really putting my arms around my little inner child and saying, you didn't deserve that.
Yep.
Or that is not a reflection of who you are. That is all about them. That's where the setting myself free comes in, because I'm healing myself through the forgiveness. And so for me, it's just another healing tool that I have. It's not letting the other person off the hook. We're accepting in some way that this person is just not capable.
Right? Yeah, they don't have it in them to be able to show up for you in the way that you're thinking, like, I need them to be able to do X, Y, and Z in order to make this like wound.
I write about this concept in my book, Compassion Forgiveness. And what that means is looking upon somebody with radical compassion and an extreme amount of compassion, and to understand that this person just doesn't have it in them to give me
what you think you need.
Yes,
right?
What I think I need. And, or they've hurt me in this way because it's been done to them.
Right.
and they never had the opportunity to heal the way I have.
Or even face it the way you have.
Or the person just doesn't see the need. They just don't see it. They're like, yeah, no, like I didn't do anything wrong. Like it's just, no.
In their mind, that's almost like, I'm not going to sacrifice myself or what I potentially believe in, say I did something that I didn't, or take blame for something that
I don't really feel like
was my fault or that I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and accepting that person's belief.
Right. Because you're not going to change it.
No. So saying, okay, I have compassion for this person and just acknowledging that people are different and respecting people, even if I don't agree.
Exactly. I was just listening to a guy on YouTube, and he's always just very positive. His name is Ralph Smart, and he has a show called Infinite Waters. One of the things he was talking about, it was all about this, by the way, and talking about how we can self-destruct at times when we feel we've been wronged or hurt, and how we need to not do that. And part of what he was saying was, not everyone has the same heart as you. And thank God.
And that's okay.
And thank God for that. Yeah, because we all have different ways of being able to let things roll through us. But like you're saying, not everybody knows how to respond necessarily. No one's going to respond to you the same way you're going to respond to you. Your heart is different than someone else's, right? And it's like you're not going to be able to control how their heart is. However, you can respond to how they are. That's where we have the control.
Yeah, some people are out there to show me who I do not want to be.
Oh, yeah.
What I do not want to be. So if everybody was walking around with my own beliefs, I would not be able to learn
anything
who I don't want to be. So I'm grateful. That's why we have all these different walks of life and different belief systems. So we can take some of it and say, wow, that's awesome. I love that. And I want to incorporate that into who I am.
Yeah.
And then there's other people to say, you know what? No, I don't, that's not for me.
Yeah.
It's like any juxtaposition, right? Like I don't know the good day unless I know the bad day.
100%.
I don't know my good heart unless I see somebody
that's
acting the way I don't want it.
You have to know what you don't want in order to know what you do want all the time.
Yes.
It's it helps to shape you.
You have to make mistakes in order to learn a lesson.
Exactly.
The yin, the yang. So you have to have all these different people out there, and some of those people might hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
They will.
There's going to be people who do.
Yeah. Exactly. They will. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to forgive those people or not. For me, I feel that I hold myself emotionally hostage.
Big time.
When I'm in it, when I'm all spun up and I'm pissed off and I'm writing in my journal about something somebody did, I eventually get to a place where I realize I'm only hurting myself by hanging on to this resentment because that person is not home thinking about me.
No.
They're drinking their coffee, they're scrolling on their phone. I am the last thing from their mind.
Yeah.
But yet I'm sitting here reliving it and going over it and getting myself
thinking
upset.
That's going to accomplish some end result, or it's going to shift their experience of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what?
Yes. If I could go over it enough in my head,
it's going to
some kind of story about it. It's going to look different. It's going to be different.
They will see it how I see it.
And then I'm going to tell them.
Yeah. And they're going to feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And
no, they're not.
And then you're just more aggravated.
We have a phrase in recovery, and I'm sure it's out in the world, but we say a lot of these things too because they help us. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
It's the first time I ever heard that. I was like, oh my gosh, because it's true. You are making yourself ill with these things and with the intention of like, you're going to feel this. And no, they're not. That's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It becomes self-destructive. It can.
Yeah. And it affects us in every way, right? Like holding on to pain and anger and resentment affects us physiologically, emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean, it's just stress.
The stress hormones, the tension in our bodies, our stress hormones. You have mass amounts of like adrenaline when it's unnecessary, or when we start releasing those stress hormones, it is indicative of illness all over the place. Like it affects our immune systems completely.
Yeah. When we're at odds with people, and we have that angst inside or that sadness or that pain or the self-judgment of like, why can't I move past this? All of those things just ramp up the chemicals inside.
Yeah.
Which then, again, we talk a lot about wanting to escape the pain with detrimental things, drugs, alcohol, food, shopping, all that kind of stuff.
Dopamine searching.
Dopamine searching like we talked about last time. So there are a lot of health benefits if you do choose to forgive. And then taking an atrocity like the sexual abuse or something like that, like now you're supposed to forgive the ones that were supposed to protect you from the perpetrator. That is even harder. And I guess you have to understand that those people are also suffering from the human experience, suffering from whatever traumas that are unhealed in them. And again, not letting them off the hook at all. People have to be accountable. But for me to get to a point of forgiving those people that I thought were supposed to protect me, I can get to a point to say, I hope they didn't know, number one. I mean, that would be the easiest path for me. But if they did, and I've heard some people that they did know.
I've heard a lot of stories where it's just the blind eye, the turning of the eye of knowing like, and this person knew that this was happening to me. You hear the stories.
How do you get
You got to be a really not well person, right? Like, you got to think like
they're not a well person. And then it's about really giving unhealthy. Yourself that own protection. That's what all the inner child work is about. They talk about reparenting yourself in a 12-step program.
You've talked about this. The ACA program, like supporting children who have had parents who are addict, alcohol, and specifically alcoholic, right?
Yeah, dysfunctional family.
Dysfunctional family. Okay. If someone didn't have the tools for that, being able to get past it to heal, like having a real clear understanding that they just, again, we've already said it once already, but not being equipped. No matter what. I forgot who I had this discussion with, and it might have been you, but it's like going to the library and talking to the librarian and being like, I need you to give me heart surgery right now. And the librarian being like, oh, really? Because I'm a librarian. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And they're getting pissed off and being like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Like, again, they just don't have it.
That's the logical thing. How do you move that thought from the head to the heart? And the way I move that idea from the head to the heart is by becoming my own loving parent, my own protector, by alleviating that person from that duty and saying, that was so painful. It is that's why a lot of people don't go to that program in particular, because it's really painful stuff. But the healing is just exponential. Once you get there, you feel at peace because you're not relying on somebody else ever to fill your void or to protect you. You do it for yourself. And I think that might be the way that you can get past some of these atrocities without forgiveness.
Well, that's what you just like totally came full circle in my head. I've gone through a few things, or continue to as an adult, that I know for sure there's some things that I've not forgiven. I think I told you, like, I literally, for the first time in my life, felt like this almost inner assassin, like almost like in my mind, it's like some badass Israeli, like female soldier chick who could like snap your neck with her hands, like, but so protected and unafraid, finally. So it's like, I think that I can relate to some of this when people are talking about that the not forgiving part can be a sense of positive, because it can be the thing that helps you feel strong enough to walk so clearly in this other direction that you're showing up for yourself, caring for yourself, to not let that thing ever happen again. And it allows you to believe it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Itself is like, guess what? You've got it in you to be a stone cold assassin if you need to protect you, your kids, whatever.
Yeah. And to tell people that you need to forgive or else you're going to hell, right? Jesus Christ died for your sins, and now you need to forgive. And if you don't, you're not a good Christian, and all this kind of stuff. I think that's BS, because I think that that's just another guilt trip. I think that's just another way. And like I'm saying, I personally choose to forgive the things that have happened to me. But again, to reiterate, I've not gone through some of these other things. So
that people have.
Yeah. So trying to just get into those people's heads, I could totally see how this pushing forgiveness on people to do it is just another guilt trip. And that's not going to set that person free ultimately if they don't really feel it in their heart. If they don't really feel like, I need to forgive to set me free. And if you're just forcing that upon them.
Well, and kind of who are we to decide that also? It feels a little. And you really think about it, it is a little bit like, hey, those of us that are better than you, we know how to forgive. And we forgive.
And look at what a great person I am.
Look at what I'm doing.
Because I'm so.
You need to forgive. And
it's like, no, maybe I don't. This is huge. This is so cool that we're talking about this, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about this yet, but I think it might become a thing as we break these chains of generational dysfunction and have these major shifts in our mentality and what we need in order to heal. Because the old stuff, some of it is very helpful, but some of it, for some people, is not. Right? So like you just said, to put this blanket statement, forgiveness is your only path.
And we're not going to understand each other, because again, it almost feels like somebody is taking away the impact. If someone's telling you, well, you just need to let it go, just let it go. You know, and it's like, I need you to recognize that this leveled me to the ground. I need to not feel like you just think it's nothing.
Dismissive. It's very minimizing and dismissive. And saying, okay, you just got to let it go. No, I mean, if you do
People have gone through worse things. Somebody's always gone through something. And it's true.
These things are true, but sometimes you're just not ready to hear them. Sometimes that those things are great, but when a person is in the right space to hear it after they've done their healing.
Yeah.
Right? Then you can let it go. This is a long road for some of us.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right? Depending probably on how severe the atrocity was or on your own soul sensitivity. I also believe the same thing could happen to me and could happen to you. And I might hold on to it forever and you be able to do 3 therapy sessions and let it go.
I watched it in families. I've seen it to where one sibling, they had the same 2 parents or they lived in the same house, and literally the perception of what went on. And the oldest sibling totally had like, what are you talking about? Our mother was a psycho and used to lock me in the attic. And the other ones are like, what are you talking about? She was a saint. She baked cookies for me every Friday. Like, and in the same household. And the thing is, it doesn't mean that one of them wasn't true, but you're right. Your sensitivity of what your heart took it as and what your soul took it as, it's still true.
Yeah. Nobody is in any position to be telling anybody what they should or should not be doing, how they should or should not be feeling, what they should or should not be letting go or forgiving.
Yeah.
You don't have that right to make those choices for other people. So we're hoping that we're giving everybody a place here today to choose where they fall in the spectrum and to decide for themselves what's the best. And again, we're not promoting one way or the other. We're just talking about our own experiences and what has worked for us. I've been reading the book, The Alchemist.
Me too.
Yeah, it's taken me a long. I think we both have been reading for a long time. It's taken me a long time.
You're supposed to pass that. Did someone give you the copy to read?
Yeah, that was, or maybe we took it. Somebody was giving them away, and we took.
You pass it on when it's done to give it to somebody else to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I haven't finished the whole thing.
I love it.
I'm taking it slow because I know there's a ton of symbolism in there.
That's my jam. Like my brain functions.
The metaphor and the symbolism.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why you need to start writing, Ginny, because you would be like, you write music, so you are already writing.
I have there's lots in there too. I've been wanting to write for a long time. You have helped light that spark, so
cool.
I'm gonna have you coach me through it.
So the alchemy of forgiveness for survivors of all different things, people who have survived infidelity, who have survived physical abuse,
having money stolen, like family members who are like, my brother took $10 million from our family.
I mean, there's so many ways that people hurt us, even the little things, right? Betrayal. You confiding in a friend and then they go tell somebody else your business, right? There's so many different ways.
It can be super hurtful.
Yeah, that is really painful stuff too, right? So I guess it would be the alchemy of forgiveness for survivors of betrayal in any which way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So what that forgiveness can do is turn it. It almost seems like I'm looking at like a patch of dirt, rocks, dirt, weeds, and just this mess that's going on internally and in your heart and your mind and your soul. And then I'm seeing like rain and like just pounding it, it can turn it into this beautiful meadow of fields and flowers and just beauty and sunshine and like that to me is the power of forgiveness, because I'm no longer holding on to self-loathing, because a lot of times what other people do to me, I internalize and I think that there's something wrong with me. Why did they do that to me? Did I deserve that? Maybe I deserve that because of the things that I've done in my past, right? So if I can learn to forgive people for those betrayals, I can then say, I don't need to live in that chaos and in that pain, and I can turn that into gold.
Yeah, you don't have to live in that dirt. You can literally change it and talk about transmuting things all the time. It's that same concept that it does have the ability to do that. I know we've said it here a million times. I would say, you're just continuing to water the concrete, and be like, why are the flowers there? Instead of being like, oh, wait a minute, let me go to this pile of dirt that seems like dirt and it seems messy and not in order. Let me water that for a minute.
And also digging in that dirt. So what I'm thinking about now is like, very often there's minerals and beautiful things in the earth that might seem like dirt and rock and nothing and weeds. But if you search within your pain, right, your dirt being the pain, if you search within there, you can find these beautiful gems.
Yeah, little treasures.
Yes, so that is the benefit of looking at this stuff and picking it apart and saying, but what part of that can now serve me?
Because there is something in there. I mean, always just the same way, you hear people talk about we learn the most at the times we fail or lose, type situation. Similar, that pain really does something to the ego to be in pain. It's dismantling. It could flatten the ego.
And grief does the same thing.
Yeah.
When you're feeling loss, when you're needing to let go of these things and find the gems in the dirt, that feeling can just crack you wide open and level you in a way and humble you in a way, right? That you can then come down to earth a little bit and not be.
You don't even have a choice. Like
you
when
don't have a
those kind of things happen, it levels your ass out.
Yes. Grief has a way of forcing us to crack open, to see these things and to feel these things that like, maybe you don't want to and you want to push away, but you really have no choice when you're at that point. It's just coming in.
Yeah, and there's no amount of money. It's one of those things that is unchangeable. There's no perception changing in, I think this person passed away and isn't here. Maybe they'll be here tomorrow. No, from 1 minute to the next, they were here and then they're not.
Gone. Yeah.
And there's no amount of power, money, magic, nothing that's going to take those circumstances back. So it levels our reality. It completely screws with our reality, I guess, right?
Yeah, and when you surrender, it's the same thing. When you surrender to these people and these situations and these things that have hurt you and surrender to the lesson that it's trying to teach you and say, okay, I'm open. I'm going to use this as an opportunity for growth and I'm going to take this pain. I'm not going to waste the pain. I'm going to use it, all that kind of stuff. It does the same exact thing as an actual death.
Yes. The
same feeling of loss. Again, all in on love, loss, and connection. It's the same thing. And then it works to connect you to your true self, to your inner child. Yeah. To get that feeling that you've been seeking your whole life. So through forgiveness, you can get there. That is one path to get there.
If you genuinely are feeling it, right?
Yes.
If you can be there to genuinely feel it, it can transmute so much.
It's got to be so genuine.
But if it's forced. Yeah. It's resentment.
No, it's just going to make it worse. It's going to compound it. You have autonomy. Your spirit and your soul has autonomy. You get to choose, right? And maybe we're planting a seed right now. Maybe you're not ready to do that. Maybe in a year or 5 years, or maybe never. And then we talked about the other way, healing the inner child without having to actually forgive can still happen. But for me, it kind of clears that energy. It kind of clears the energy between me and that other person. I don't want any negative energy out there that is going to tarnish my light,
right? Or create a blockage from light coming in. Either you putting it out to help someone else or receiving light, because it is a block.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Yeah, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that interfering with me.
Take some space.
When I meditate in the morning, I say, and this might sound a little crazy, but I say, so maybe I am a little crazy. My husband says sometimes you got to get a little crazy.
Got to get a little crazy. And Jim is right.
I say, God, spirit, angels, archangels, master guides, higher self, please come into my heart, my mind, my body, my soul, and my spirit and possess me in a way which is indeed miraculous. Do for me today that which I cannot do for myself. Show me what you need me to see, hear, feel, know, and do or not do on my journey toward becoming the highest version of myself, which is love. And for the highest good of those around me.
Ooh, that's really good.
That's my thing. I did.
You should write it down.
I did write it down.
Oh, did you put it in that thing you wrote called a book?
No, part of it. Yeah.
No, that's like a beautiful.
I'm going to start at some point doing meditations on YouTube. And
yes,
once I can, do that.
1,000,000%. And I would love if you would send me that.
So I will. And so that's the whole thing, is the highest version of myself, which is love. I want to clear out everything that's jamming me up.
The rest of the stuff is very dense.
Yep. Yeah. Walking around with this stuff, it's only hurting me.
Yeah.
It's only hurting me.
In your case.
In my case, I like to use forgiveness because there's been a lot of people, a lot of things that I've had to really search deeply and just find that utmost compassion for them and say, if they could have done different, they would have.
They would have.
And I like to believe that. Maybe it's not true. I used to not believe it. I believe it now.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't realize how much I related to, like I said, having that almost that mama bear energy for myself would show up by being angry and by at least temporarily not forgiving, almost like creating the boundary that I don't think I was able to create before. And it required me kind of being in that mindset of like, I'm not letting this one go, in a weird way.
Yeah.
And it's not that old of a situation. So this has me definitely pondering a lot of that because I genuinely believe, at least for now, that ability to do that, which is not generally my way. My way is generally always like, no, forget, don't hang on to this shit for so many reasons. But this particular thing, it required the assassin inside of me. And part of that did stem from being like, no, I'm not forgetting this in a way.
Yeah. And like you said, maybe it fueled you and is keeping you going.
Right. To hold up a boundary that I never was able to create.
Yep.
To build it. And for safety.
So it's serving you right now.
Right. It's serving. That's exactly right. And I've never thought of that and myself as that kind of person or somebody who would look at it in that way. And this topic has done that. Because
and I said right now. I mean, we don't have to subscribe to something and believe that that's who I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like I am allowed to shift and change and move and think differently about different things.
Just like that. And I've even gone on after that to have situations happen that I have had my normal like standard hardwiring of like, it's cool. It's not them. Like let's get past it. It's fine and let things go. But there's been a couple where I realized like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Some stuff that's real deep.
Oh,
real deep
and
stuff.
I can't imagine. I know for sure I'm not alone in it. And that's why this topic was such a great topic, Amanda, and so good. And why we wanted to share it with you guys, because we know it's such a mucky area. When we're being real authentic and honest about it. There's a lot to it. It's a lot of facets.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to like, well, if people could do the best they could, they would, trying to figure things out. I think I've told you guys before. My sponsor in New York calls me the big brain. She said I have the figure it out isms. Like that makes me feel safe. I'm a logical person.
Yeah.
And I like to know why things are going on. I like to button things up. Sometimes there are no answers. We like to apply as humans a general logic to all things because then we feel in control.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Sometimes there's no reason why terrible things happen. Sometimes they just happen.
Yeah.
Not everything follows the same spiritual laws. But it brings me some solace believing that there's got to be some kind of rhyme or reason for the pain. And that's why I kind of hold on to my own beliefs. But the truth is there's a bunch of different things going on out there. It's not one way. There's no one answer for everything. So I would just want you guys to think about how you feel about this stuff and getting to a place where you can finally let things go, whether you use forgiveness or not.
To let it benefit you, not harm you.
How can it help you? And this quote I see often, and I'm almost like scared to say this because, I mean, if anybody is listening to this, you might flood our inbox with some hate mail, but I can handle it.
We have thick skin some days.
So, it's probably not going to be very popular, but I'm not really here for a popularity contest.
You're not?
No.
Oh,
I've gotten over that. A lot of people aren't going to like me, and that's okay. That's okay. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
If I ruffle some feathers, good. Maybe I'm supposed to. I'm here to just tell my truth. And my truth is when I hear the Maya Angelou quote, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
So true. Why do you think that's unpopular? Why do you think that's
because I don't believe it.
Thing? Oh, you don't believe it?
Yeah.
Oh, tell us more, Amanda.
I believe when a person shows you who they are, obviously they're talking about when somebody hurts you. I believe that's their pain speaking. That's their pain coming out. I don't believe that's truly who they are. I believe, does that mean that we don't believe in second chances? Does that, and I don't know what context she said it in. I don't know what context other people are using it in. Yeah. If you're an abuser, if you're, like that.
Don't go back to a situation you've already been shown.
If it's been a bunch of times.
Yes. But you're right. Like, I don't know where I would be if there weren't second chances.
That's probably why it rubs me the wrong way. Because, after my brother died, and I'm not sure if I've told this story, I probably have. I told my husband, I don't love you. I don't think I ever loved you. I was in this crazy dark place.
Yep.
And he loved me enough and supported me enough and believed in me enough that he gave me the time and the space to go back to my true self because he knew that I was a wreck. He knew it wasn't me. So if I showed my husband who I was and he believed me, What
Where
would
would
have
we
happened?
be?
Where would I be today?
That's
Where would my
great
kids be
point.
today? Where would my family be today? We wouldn't have one,
No.
right? So I think we just got to be careful. I worry about how we take these things we see on social media and we apply them to every situation in our lives.
Right.
If people believed who I was when I was drinking,
Oh my God.
if people thought that that's who I was, I'd probably have nobody left in my life.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody out
At the
there.
worst, yeah, at the
Thank
worst
you.
of those states. And similar situation, my husband too was very at the point of being where I was not ready to think that I needed help, or at the point of not quitting drinking, had to go through that thought process and probably had a lot of people be like, you know what, take the kids, leave. Why are you going to expose your kids to this? And he did think about that, but he didn't.
Maybe some people need to do that.
Yes.
And then that scares the other person into recovery or whatever it is, or that person
Right.
realizes, oh my God, what am I losing?
Right.
But to ditch a person entirely, to shut down somebody entirely because they are functioning from pain, I don't find that very compassionate. I find that to be a self-protective way of saying, you're scaring me.
And when people aren't well, we're not showing who we really are. And again, we're not talking about abuse, guys. I know we bring that up a lot.
Yes, we really wanted to keep the show like general offenses.
Yeah.
Like somebody that hurt you, like a friend, again, who tells somebody something that you didn't want them to tell anybody. Maybe that person can change. I used to have a really big mouth. People wouldn't tell me anything. Yeah. Nobody trusted me. There was stuff that went on in my friend group that I was the last to know and they didn't even want me to find out. But I found out.
We tell Amanda.
We tell Amanda, everybody's going to find out. Everybody's going to know. And I'm not like that today.
Yeah.
I am very proud of the transformation that I have undergone. And those same girls didn't toss me away.
You weren't in your best way.
They loved me anyway. Maybe they didn't trust me, but they loved me.
Yeah.
And I'm still friends with them today.
Right.
And I'm grateful that people didn't take me at face value.
Yeah.
And that they were able to give me some grace.
Absolutely. Me too.
And allow me
Every
to
day.
change.
Every day. Because, I definitely had times that I was not my best version. And to think that if someone had to judge me of my whole life based off of that chapter, that is really rough to think about.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something to consider. Again, each of us has it in us to be in those places. And when we're in fear, when we're in fight or flight, when we're in protective mode, we all can do some pretty out of character behaviors or hurt each other in ways that you would never do that if you weren't in that state. And that is, and you think about that again, we're talking about connection. It starts to happen in groups of us as we band together and think, oh, this group of people has wronged us. So therefore we've got to
An entire group.
An entire group. And our group feels this one way. But again, is it surrounding an event in history, surrounding whatever it might be? Like we literally are doing this all the time in small amounts and like that microcosm, right, within ourselves, but also in groups.
Yeah, and that's what's causing this severe division, that why Ginny and I are here, because we're so concerned that people are taking these ideas and blanketing entire groups of people, or taking an idea or a phrase or a quote that was meant for a specific person or a specific situation, and they're applying it
Set everything.
to the masses in a way. Particularly, I'm concerned about a way of emotionally self-protecting instead of doing the hard work and saying, you know what, well, that person did that to me and that's who they really are and I'm kicking them to the curb. Maybe you played a part.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to look at yourself. Why were you attracted to this person? Why did you bring this person into your life that hurt you?
Yeah.
And maybe they can change if you care enough to work on the relationship. But if you don't, it's definitely valuable for you to look at yourself and why you found yourself with this person that hurt you in whatever way, right? Because we attract people into our lives, like we talk about a lot, in order to show us who we are and the healing that we need. There's a whole lot to this. We could probably talk forever
You're really good
on it. One more thought I had was that forgiveness is a two-way street, right? Like if I'm in a relationship with somebody and something happened and they forgive me, but I can't forgive myself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not really a two-way street. It's a 1.5 or a 1 and a U-turn. I don't know.
It's one of those roundabouts.
It's like it's a roundabout. It's a roundabout. So this person comes into my roundabout and they're forgiving me and it's all good, but I'm still going around and around and around. I can't get out. I can't get out of the roundabout. They put a whole bunch of those roundabouts in our town lately.
Them everywhere.
People just have no idea that he's like, go, just go. You gotta go. Just jump in.
Keep go. Yeah,
Just
and you're
jump
right.
in.
And it creates a little bit of like stopping if you're not forgiving yourself. It's exactly what it is.
That's the roundabout. You're so right. Yes. You said it. Not me.
I said it.
You
I
said
was
it.
just heard about that one. Oh, yes. Pay me. Good job.
So yeah, if you're going around and around and around and you can't forgive yourself, guess what? You're never going to have a better relationship. So self-forgiveness, we got to touch on that before we go because that's probably like the hardest one.
Yeah, I genuinely feel like it is. It's very hard to do, especially if you've at least sat with some of the things or the times of your life or the actions you've taken or the things you've done or said that are just so far from who you are.
Yep.
It is very challenging to forgive yourself for that.
Yep.
Very, very challenging. And I think everybody walks around with some level of it.
Definitely.
For sure.
If you're not a sociopath.
Yes. Unless you can
narcissistic, complete sociopath. Yeah.
But they say narcissism, right? That it comes from such a self-hate that it
it's definitely has to be a defense mechanism as a kid.
Self-hate.
That you really are internalizing. I think narcissism stems from parents. It's not something you're born with. It's a personality disorder. Yeah. So there are like biological, chemical disorders that you're born with. There's personality disorders, which typically happen in childhood as a result from your childhood experiences.
Trauma or whatever.
So trauma, being told you're stupid, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, right? You're going to internalize that and you're going to turn that pain inward and you're going to start to feel self-loathing. You're going to start to not like yourself. So then the narcissism, I believe, is a protection, a defense mechanism because you don't want to feel that. You need to survive, right? So I'm going to overcompensate. I'm not going to take myself down, but I'm going to overcompensate and then I'm going to be narcissistic because I have to protect myself.
Right. Yeah.
So unless you're one of those two things, most likely you feel something that you've done in your life.
Yeah.
That
you're not proud of. That you need to forgive yourself for. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's hard.
Those things, that's very hard. And the thing is, they're just so dense. They are so weighted. It's hard to even look at it because people don't talk about it or say anything, but maybe sit at least with one of those things for yourself, and take a peek at that and really just look at it, sit with it for a little bit or write it down on a piece of paper and
acknowledge that, that was messed up.
Yeah.
What you did was wrong. And acknowledging that you were not at your best, or maybe you're still not at your best. It's going to be a painful experience, but that is the essence of humility and saying, I'm a human being and I'm going to mess up and I'm going to have these human feelings and these experiences. And after you go through that, then, not, oh no, it's okay. You're fine. You're good. No, you got to sometimes feel like a piece of garbage to move through it. You got to allow yourself to feel that.
Well, and also to be at the point of realizing you can feel it and find the spot and the truth of knowing that it's not who you are. That doesn't make up who you are.
Yes.
It's a piece of something you did. Yeah. It was an unhealed version of you, but it's not who you have to be.
Yeah, like
my life sentence.
Again, my sponsor in New York tells me the story sometimes. She sponsored this guy and she's lesbian, so you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to sponsor. You're allowed to sponsor. Yeah, the opposite sex. Anyway, he said to her, I feel like such a shitty dad. Yeah. And she said, because you were. Oof. Right? That's why she's my sponsor. Because she just puts it out there. It's the truth. You were. Instead of us trying to massage everybody all the time, I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt them. Sometimes you have to tell people the truth.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Sometimes you have to tell the truth and you have to say, yes, you acted like that, but that's not truly who you are.
Right.
That's your disease. That's your addiction. That's your pain coming out. I believe we're all born love and light. Yep. I do. Maybe it's naive of me. Maybe I need to work on my, seeing people for who they really are. I don't know.
I'm there with you.
I believe life experiences create the shitty versions of us. So
our response to them, our response to life happening to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think then we can find self-forgiveness in that. Survival traits, they talk about it. They see it's like this, my pain manifested in these ways in order for me to survive certain experiences. And now I can let that go. Now I don't need to live that way. And I can forgive myself with patience and self-compassion. Those are probably the two main tools that I would suggest you use when you're trying to forgive yourself. It's going to take a long time. So have the patience. You might think you're there and then something will happen and it'll bring it back up. But this whole thing is not linear. Growth is not linear. So every time it comes back up, again, patience and self-compassion. Patient. I was in a bad place. This happened to me and I reacted this way. Give yourself that self-love and that self-compassion. And the self-forgiveness will come. And then start acting like a better human, right? I was told if you want self-esteem, do esteemable things.
I've heard.
Right? Like, be a good human and you'll start to believe you're a good human.
Yeah, you'll trust yourself that you are.
Which you are. We know you are.
Yeah, you want to be here.
You wouldn't be listening to us.
Unless you're just the crazy. Yeah. It's okay. You're welcome to.
Exactly. So shall we move on to the challenge?
I think so. Let's do it.
So I'd say first decide if you need to forgive. Decide if you want to forgive or if you can heal without forgiveness.
Right.
Get very honest with yourself. For the people that might say, I don't need to forgive, perhaps you really don't.
Yeah, maybe that's your armor.
There might be some of you, though, that are saying, I don't need to forgive because you're afraid of what you're going to feel.
You're going to feel
really...
vulnerable.
Exactly. Because
it's
you're going to feel
scary.
Vulnerable. You're going to have to look at your part. And then for the ones that are saying like, no, I'm good. I'm healed, right? Get really honest with yourself about if you have forgiven, like if it's still eating you up, if you're still thinking about this thing on a regular basis, yeah, it's going to probably pop in your head here and there. But if you're thinking about it in a way that it's infiltrating.
Yeah, like it's changing your experience of today, right now. Yeah.
Then there's more work to do. Then you really haven't forgiven, right? Like some people could say they've forgiven, but then their actions and their words or whatever, like just don't match up.
Or their feelings of even what they put themselves through on a day-to-day basis. You'll hear people say like, I was just so angry. Or I was just so emotional today. I just can't believe he did this to me. I just can't believe she said that to me. And we think like, I've let it go, but you haven't.
You really haven't. So if you want to let it go, you can identify, like we opened up talking about resentment, identify the fear under the resentment. When you're angry, when you're mad at somebody, there is always a fear.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually a fear that you won't get something that you want or something you have is going to be taken away.
Yeah, safety or stability, really, if you think about it. Something's threatening your way of life.
Your security.
Your security.
Whether that's a physical security or an emotional security.
Yeah.
So identify that. And then if you are unwilling to forgive, ask yourself why. Back to getting honest with yourself. Is there a fear you're leaving yourself open to get hurt again?
Are you afraid you're letting someone off the hook? That's the other thing. Is there a fear that you're putting up the white flag? Like, it's fine. Yeah, you could take that from me and I'm going to be okay with it. And do you think you're not having vindication for yourself if you do that?
And that you're weak. And that you're saying, yeah, exactly. That I'm not feeling my power and I'm abandoning myself.
Yes.
Are you thinking that you're abandoning yourself by forgiving somebody because you're thinking that it's letting them off the hook?
Just you looking at that and seeing it, even if that is how you feel, that's all right. But at least it gives you an idea of what you're dealing with inside.
Yeah. So if you are ready to let go using forgiveness, what I do, I use visuals. It's like a ritual. Rituals are very good for letting go of anything. I was taught ritual around grief during his death and having a ritual around that. They're just very symbolic. And when you take an action, it sort of solidifies it into your brain. So for me, when I'm going through different parts have gone through different parts of my life where I need to let certain people go or ideas go or beliefs go or parts of me go, stuff like that, whatever letting go you need to do. I close my eyes, I picture a bunch of balloons and I hold on to the balloons. And I put the person, the thing, the idea, the feeling, the characteristic, whatever it is that I'm trying to let go, I put it in the balloon. Those are in the balloon. I take a deep breath. And then I get to a place where I really, truly feel, and I've had to do this numerous times with the same people and the same thing. So this isn't one shot. Yeah, it's a process. But every time I do it, I'm releasing a little bit more. I release the balloons. I let them go. I let the balloons go up. I let them go out into the air, and I don't have an idea of where they're going. They're just up in the sky, and they're going, and they're going.
You're just not holding them anymore.
They're just not with me. They're in somebody else's court now. They're in God's, the universe, or whatever, and I'm not responsible anymore for carrying that weight. it's like, I feel like a weight is lifted off of me when I just let that thing go.
Yeah, that's great. That's an amazing exercise to talk about doing. And at first, when I saw the show notes, I was like, Amanda's talking about letting balloons go. There's no way she's cool with this. There's so many environments. I've heard people talk about turtles. And I'm like, I saw the show notes and I'm like, is she serious? Because this chick won't use straws. I know she's not letting balloons go. I know she's not. I got upset the other day. I saw some balloons. I was like, what do you about? And I've got lots of balloons.
I got a lot of issues, people.
Right now.
I got a lot of issues.
But I'm glad to know it's the mental exercise.
It's a mental exercise.
I was about to be worried about my friend Amanda. I'm like, so listen, I don't know if you know, but you are very much about the environment. Balloons, letting go, not going to work. But you could do anything. That's a cool visual though. I mean, you could do butterflies. I mean, anything. You could just let anything go. Balloons is good though, because you can kind of, I can imagine hanging onto balloons, especially when you have a lot of them.
And you're holding them down, right? It's also very symbolic. If they want to fly away, but you're holding them and you're pulling them down
when you're sitting there.
Yeah, they're tangled. Or maybe they're trying to pull you with them.
Yeah.
Wow, that balloon, that's a good one.
It is a good one.
I got to give myself rope.
That's a good one there.
So, yes, also, so for a person in particular, this helped me a lot. And I write about this in my book. It's no secret. Mom, you know this if you're listening. You know, we've had our share of ups and downs. And I talk about in the book, this healing the inner child piece, I translate it to her. I pictured her as a young child. I pictured what she may or may not have been given as a young child in her particular circumstances.
Right.
And we talked about this in a past show, just imagining yourself and everybody just as souls and not in these hierarchy of roles of what somebody's supposed to be giving you. So I, adult Amanda, imagine myself, picture I go into this room where my mom is on the floor and she's playing jacks and she's, playing by herself. And I get down on the floor with her and I start playing jacks with her. And she looks at me and we smile and I say, you're not alone. I'm here with you, right? And healing her some way is healing me because the parent-child relationship. So try to help heal the inner child of whoever you feel has harmed you or is currently harming you. And every capacity, like we say, we're not talking about abuse, but if you,
that might help you find some peace too, though. And it's, again, not about taking somebody off the hook, but about knowing that even these people who have done the most horrific and they're in our human race, let's be real, there's been some horrific things, but that person was somebody's baby, innocent human, at least for a short period, at some point, right?
At least until they could probably walk.
Right.
I mean, how much harm can an immobile child do?
Right.
Can't talk.
Right.
Can't walk.
Yeah. So before they had all the things that helped contribute to them, being a monster.
Yeah, before they were probably left alone for hours to fend for themselves, crying, hungry, cold.
Exactly.
Whatever happened to them.
That might at least help as we're in the process of trying to forgive, and not for the person, but for us, that might be a way to help visualize that, to go, oh, this person, wow, this was somebody's baby at some point.
And I'll tell you, if you do choose that route, you will feel an immense amount of peace and spiritual and emotional freedom afterwards.
Yes.
And pretty much everything else that you deal with in your life will probably feel a little easier, right?
Yeah.
Once you can go through that and get to that level of compassion and love and peace for another person, it almost seems impossible, but I know there are people who've done it.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of people who've done it.
Yeah. Pretty powerful stuff.
It is. It's just such a good topic.
So think about that stuff, guys. I know it's heavy stuff. Again, we're really grateful that you're with us. It's a lot. And
it is a lot, but we're living at a time that's a lot.
It's a lot.
So, and I guarantee you, none of you you'll be like, yeah, these bitches are right. It is a lot right now.
Yeah. And like Ginny said,
a lot.
And you're here listening to us because you were drawn to this podcast. Whether you listen to all 11 episodes or this is your first one, welcome. And there is a reason why you have found us, because you are ready to do this kind of work.
That's right. There's a reason you found us today. So whether you got the notification because you subscribe, then you follow us, which is great. Or if you're just like, oh, this sounds like something I want to listen to or learn about today, we're so glad you're here. We're so grateful. And none of it was by mistake. So thank you so much.
Because we rise together, people.
That's right.
You know, we've been in it. We talk all the time, Ginny and I. We've been in the trenches. We've done some shit in our life. We're still in the trenches. Yes. We're just trying to dig out, and we're glad that you are digging out with us.
Yeah. Let's dig out together. It'll be fun.
Come back and see us in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
check us out on Instagram at Soul Rising. Email us, solrising@gmail.com.
Yes. Go check out Amanda's book. Go check out Amanda's website.
Just put a trailer up there, a little nice minute book trailer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Cool.
It's like did a great job on that. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
He did a really good job.
AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com.
Yes. And the Flippin' Phoenix. Ginny is flipping that furniture as fast as she can get it.
Yes. And it's been amazing. But you can find me to flippinphoenix.com. The website it's growing, but you can find me on Instagram, the Flippin' Phoenix. You can find me on Facebook, the Flippin' Phoenix, and YouTube here pretty quickly too. So come hang out with us. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah, we love you guys. You guys have an awesome day. Have an awesome couple weeks, and we'll see you
soon. See you soon. Later.
Adios.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.
See you next. Until then, let that soul rise.